we are in Toronto with my man Sugar Hill, who was fresh off a victory with Anthony Dirrell against Marco Antonio Rubio on PBC on CBS. A pretty easy night for your man Anthony Dirrell. I scored all 10 rounds for him. I don't see a way that you could have possibly scored any rounds for Rubio.
I had to score the same, and I can say it was a pretty easy night, but that was because of a lot of hard work that Anthony put in training camp for this fight, in preparation. Mentally, physically, he was prepared, and I was surprised at some of the things that he was doing because we didn't work on it for this fight, but he did it from the last fight and the fight before. So I was happy to see some of the things that we worked on previously being used in the ring, that night, and it leaves for less talking for me.
Right. Well, we certainly saw a more aggressive Anthony Dirrell. Now, do you think, was that something that you guys instilled in him, or was some of that because Rubio wasn't firing back a whole lot as well?
Well, Anthony has always been an aggressive fighter from his amateur days. And for a reason being, he brought me back into his training camp because I know him from amateurs. I guess other than his grandfather, I know him probably the best as far as boxing and his style. So he wanted to have his old amateur style back again. And he was always an aggressive, hard-punching fighter. He didn't give about anybody.
Now, you mentioned the dynamic in the corner, and it's interesting because you guys have great talent in that corner, and it allows you to sort of focus on different things. So you have Bumper who's there talking to him, but we noticed, I think, around the 5th round or so on the telecast that you were looking over at Rubio on his stool, and you told Anthony, I don't think he wants to be here anymore. Is that something that you do a lot, analyzing the other opponent and how they're looking in their corner as well?
Yeah, I'm looking at everything. It's part of my job. It's part of what I was taught by, Emmanuel. Emmanuel taught me everything I know for boxing, and it's just up to me to pull out which things that he's taught me to use, and I try to use all of them. And things that he's done, mistakes that he's made in boxing, or things that happened to him that didn't turn out so well, he told me about, so I know how to correct them, and so I won't have those same problems. So I'm very, very fortunate enough to
now while you're
taught by him,
well,
to know those kind of things.
Now, while you're focusing on that, obviously you have a light heavyweight championship fight to be focused on here with Adonis Stevenson and Tommy Karpency. Karpency, obviously a big underdog heading into this fight, but he is a southpaw as well, which I know can be tricky at times. What technically does Adonis need to do to set up that big left hand against Karpency?
He needs to do what a typical right-hander would do, and I train a lot of right-handed fighters as well. So he's gonna jab, he's gonna do a lot of basic boxing. The jab sets up everything, whether he's boxing a southpaw or he's boxing a right-handed fighter. So Adonis knows how to use his jab to set up big shots, which is that big left hand. Adonis also has a right hand, which he throws great hooks and great body shots. And like I said before, Adonis has learned so much about boxing southpaws, but you don't get to see him. I think he fought Chad Dawson. Well, I don't think, but he fought Chad Dawson and scored a sensational knockout. And he also fought, I remember, Jesus Gonzalez, and scored a sensational knockout as well. And that was when Emmanuel was training him at that time. So this is the 3rd time that Adonis is facing a southpaw. With wearing the crunk and being a part of the crunk team and family. And I expect the same thing, nothing less. I expect him to use his boxing IQ and to set up any shot that he wants, and looking for a knockout.
I was going to say, so you feel some pressure that you need a knockout of the year contender in this fight then, too?
No, Adonis, every fight we train for a knockout. So I guess it just depends on how the person falls, whether it's a knockout of the year.
Now, lastly, did you guys see anything in Karpency's fight with Chad Dawson that you guys have to worry about at all, or is this just another southpaw, like you're saying, that you got to line him up the same way?
Well, some things that I noticed that I'm not supposed to tell, because you're not supposed to tell us stuff before the fight.
That's right.
I don't really care. No, he's a good boxer. He can box. He has smooth movements. Karpency. I don't think he's that fast of a fighter, and that's an advantage for Adonis, because Adonis is super fast. That's probably why they call him Superman, maybe. Karpency, he can box. He's smooth. I know he grew up in, he's from Pennsylvania, and I know that area of boxers that he had to compete against as an amateur.
Tough.
And, those are the tough Philadelphia fighters, and, you have a lot of slick fighters from Philadelphia, and whether it be black fighters, in the neighborhoods, and then you have the Latino fighters. So he's got a well-rounded background of being around those fighters. and learning and picking up from those fighters, going to tournaments and boxing shows and you know, training in the same gyms as those guys. So he's learned a lot, and I know he's got some slickness in him, and that's what we have to watch out for, because we don't know much about him, but you have to prepare for everything.
Well, we're looking forward to an exciting fight, however it ends, hopefully for your sake, and a knockout of the year.
Okay, thank you. I hope for the same.